Welcome to this episode, Avoiding the Dangers of Relationship Astrology. Today, our outline will include the importance of Venus and Mars, trines and sextiles, squares and oppositions, decans, some of the most important but least known, and the houses.
We spend a lot of time with a lot of other people, and we've seen people at large damage each other and cause wedges because they only partially understand astrology, and they project a lot, they misjudge, and ultimately there's some aspects to astrology that are much more important than the sign. So it's like, hey, what if that person's bubbly like me? We're both fire, right? Okay, what if you have all different interests? I mean, what do you do with that?
And when you say different interests, are you speaking of the houses?
Yeah, I'm speaking of the houses, which we'll get to.
Okay.
Is that fun if you have no complementary interests, but yet you can both be bubbly a little bit? Is that what you want? So we're not going to tell you guys what you want. We're going to let you tell yourself what you want, but we want to be walking you through, like, how to measure, how to judge, how to recognize certain aspects to where you can see compatibility in other ways. Because I've seen couples together and they're working out good and their signs are pretty different, but they have other energies that gives them interest and flows together. So let's move on to the first one, Venus and Mars, and why those are so important.
Well, Venus is how you like to receive love, and Mars is what you're attracted to and how you do things and how you fight.
Yeah. So, like, you can almost kind of have fun with this because, like, if you find somebody's Mars sign and you know the person's rising sign, what their body is, you can kind of see what they're attracted to. And so, for example, if you have, like, somebody that has a fire Mars and there's somebody that has a fire body, it's not always like a natural attraction as much as like the other fire person may have like a bounce to them. They may be a little bit more excitable and they may not even realize it, but they may just even smile while they're interacting with them because they have a draw towards that energy.
It's an energetic pull, a magnetism.
Yeah, even if they're not the exact likeness, even if it's not an exact attraction, like their flow, their movement.
Like someone having a Mars in Leo and then somebody else being a Leo rising. That would be considered an exact attraction, right?
Yeah, that would be a good attraction.
And so you're saying somebody that has like a Mars in Leo could still be attracted to like an Aries rising or a Sagittarius rising, still have that energetic magnetism towards them.
Yeah, and that kind of takes us into our next one, which is trines and sextiles, because and we probably maybe we should just go into the math about that, because a trine is something that's 120 degrees. If you look at the zodiac in a wheel, it hits the other energy at a 120 degree angle, and that means like all the fires are 120 degree angles from each other, all the airs are 120 degree angles from each other. Earth and water, same thing. They're all 120 degree angles apart from each other. Like a triangle. Basic math. Basic geometry. So, in saying that, like, yes, you can have some natural attraction there. And that goes into sextiles too. And that's how a lot of times people judge their astrological matches. That's the very basic, impartial way. And we want to acknowledge that there's truth there, but we also want you to have a more full understanding and realize that there is way more to it, and there's more that's probably more important than that. And so, for example, sextile would be half of it. Would be what's in between the trine. And you can learn it through symbolism too. So it's 60 degrees apart. So you have, and it's another form of compatibility, like a trine. And think of trine like Trinity in religion, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. They have a flow between each other. And so do trines. It's the same concept. It's the same truth. And then sextiles are just like a different angle, but the same thing as that. So, for example, a sextile with fire is an air sign. Think about how air feeds fire. Think about how they flow together. They mix really well together. So in a general sense, it's like, oh yeah, that's another compatibility.
Well, and if we're speaking of literal fire, then fire will burn out without oxygen. So.
Yeah, they kind of almost need each other.
Yeah.
So once again, you can apply common sense. You can remember things you already know to understand this stuff better. Fire and air work great together. And water and earth go well together. They're sextile with each other. And if you think about how they become symbiotic, it rains, they're one, they're mixed.
That's true.
There's a tornado. They're not without dirt in them. They're throwing dirt around too. They're throwing dirt and water together. Like they're very interconnected. Especially in natural disasters, flooding, like they become a destructive force together. But what happens when you mix water and fire?
Puts the fire out.
You can put the fire out. And you'll see these in personalities too. Earth and fire. I guess I call those lava. I guess they can make lava together. But generally it's not always it's not the ideal according to basics of astrology and personalities. And you get too much earth, and then you get somebody that has no grounding, no earth. It's like, okay. And keep in mind, there's a lot of people that are very well balanced, and they'll get like all four elements. And that's one thing you need to understand. And there's other people that have very extremes on their personality. I would consider myself one of them. Got a lot of fire. And one water. It chills me out a little bit. I have water in how I speak. So I'm not...
The rest is fire.
Yeah, I'm not turning into a fire-breathing dragon on all of you guys. I chill it out a little bit. When it comes to all that, those are just all things to be conscious and aware about. So that's the whole principle of trines and sextiles. The next, which is seen as an oppositional force, would be squares and oppositions. So opposition is something that's 180 degrees. In other words, it's the opposite side of the zodiac. It holds an opposite theme. And this would be arguably something that would normally be a sextile. For example, Aries and Libra are they're fire and air. Libra's air, Aries is fire. And in that, they should by all means get along, right? That's the basic science of astrology. But they have the same modality, meaning the same flow. They're both cardinal. So by all means, shouldn't they be the perfect pair? They're the same axis.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, they're opposites. They hold opposite themes. So Aries being the self and Libra being the partner, you see how they hold two opposite themes. They hold the cosmos in balance.
Yes.
So, they're in opposition because they hold a different theme. They hold a different subject. They have an energetic kickback. And so these can be together. In fact, my wife here has a very strong Libra placement, and I have some strong Aries placements. We're opposites in a lot of ways. But the way it works is we have the same element in our Venus and Mars, to where we have this flow of our same attractive force. We romance the same because our Mars is the output and our Venus is what we want to receive. And those are it's very good to have those together. But sometimes our egos have different ways of wanting to balance something. And so if you're good at like being mature and like being able to honor others and realize, hey, this person cares about balance. Oh, and I care about like being authentic, like, or whatever. Like there's usually middle ground where you can balance both. You can say, okay, what if we do it this way and we come up with a way that it works? And then we go back to having fun and having our same element to flow in with our Venus and Mars. So, That's one thing to keep in mind. And another thing to keep in mind is that I had an experience with a friend who he had Venus in Libra, and I have the opposite. I have Venus in Aries. And so what would happen there is, this is how the universe operates. Like, there could be like, when things hit really good for the one, the opposition takes on like a bad day, especially if they're like exactly in opposition.
Meaning the same degrees.
Yeah, if they're the same degrees but on the opposite, where they're like 180 degrees exactly apart from each other. The energy of the universe will flow in a way where it will bless the one and like curse the other one on the same day, at the same time. And so if you're with somebody that has that strong of oppositional force, like, and this is where we mean a danger or pitfall to look out for, are you willing to lift that other person up?
On their bad day.
On their bad day. And are they willing to lift you up and bring you up and help fix the energy of the universe? If you guys are raging fighters, like you and whoever you're with, and you have oppositions, oh yeah, there's going to be, if you guys go just follow the ebbs and flows of the universe, oh yeah, the universe is going to dictate a winner that day, and it's going to dictate a loser. And if are conscious of that, yeah, one of you is going to totally defeat the other one on certain days. And so me and my friend that had two oppositions in our Venus, we would have that, but we used that energy and have a great friendship to where we'll pick each other up on bad days.
Yeah.
And we'll cheer the other one up. And we've both done that for each other over and over and over again, to where the universe would be flowing the opposite for each other, and we would share the good energy with each other. So if you're conscious of that, even though it's an opposition or a square, it can work, it can be beautiful.
Yeah, I think the ideal, most evolved way that somebody could handle an opposition like that is to lift each other up and to help each other on their down day. Like, yes, energetically, the universe would be in the favor of the one who's having a great day and not in favor of the one who's having a bad day.
Because they're opposites.
Right, because they're opposites. So that could leave space for the one who's got a great energetic flow towards them to potentially be the winner. But that's only going to tear the other person down. So it would be far better to lift the person who's down up, because you have a great energetic flow in your favor anyway. So why not use it for good?
Yeah, so I would urge people that if they can't handle that, and if they can't be that, and they don't have the evolution for that, they may want to try something that has a better flow, if that makes sense. But if somebody's evolved and incredibly developed and matured, having a balanced partner that kind of counterbalances them in some ways can make them a more powerful couple if they have some energies that go against each other. So
versus meaning the same flow, and then they both have a bad day on the same day, and they both have a great day on the same day.
Yeah, they can be raging at the same person, you know what I mean? Like, if let's say have two fire signs and they both have something happen and it makes them both mad at the same person, or they could explode at each other too. But the point is it would be balanced that way. But we should consider that, like, it may take greater evolution to harmonize with somebody that has an opposition to you. And I don't think we need to talk about squares a lot, other than to say that they're 90-degree angles, and just a simplistic way to, it's just more of the same. They carry a different theme. Like, for example, Aries is the self or the sun, and Libra is the partner or the daughter, the counterbalance. But then the other two signs that are 90 degrees square are more, they're the mother and the father, Cancer and Capricorn. And you see how they're all a familial theme, but they're different familial themes. They hold like a different jurisdiction. They rule something different.
Speaking of the square of Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, and Aries. Yeah. So those are all square.
Yeah. So it's mommy versus daddy. Mommy wants nurture. Daddy wants governance, like wants people to behave. Yeah. And the son wants to go play. And Libra, the partner wants help, like
And peace.
and peace, and don't go start things
Right.
with people, So they all have these different themes that they roll over, and they have different desires, and that's why they're considered either oppositions or squares. They represent different angles. The next thing to be conscious or aware about is Decans. And I hate to say this, but it's probably one of the most important to understand. And it's because they rule a different degree. All the signs are oriented more towards a certain decan: first, second, third.
Yeah, that would be good to explain that. So there's 4 first decan signs, 4 second decan signs, and 4 third decan signs.
Yes.
And that means
The first 4 decans are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. And they are more of the I am energy. They are wired to think I am. Like the story comes through them. Like they're watching something and they're watching a movie. They put themselves in the idea of the main character. They're more wired that way. And keep in mind, we all have several different signs, so we're going to all think different ways at different times. But
it could translate as selfishness, or it could translate, if they're more evolved, as
empathetical.
Introspective.
Yes.
Like, what can I do to improve myself? What can I do to be a better person? That can be one way that the I am signs operate.
Right. And one of the things to consider is you ever tell somebody a story and they instantly say, well, this happened to me once. And some people are like, dude, that's like egotistical, bringing it back to yourself. We should be a little bit, and then we should be more
gracious
to other people. Conscientious. People are wired that way. If it goes to an extreme, yes, it can be egotistical. But we should have some understanding that some of us have wiring. And this is why I think astrology is so important, is because if we can understand other people's flow, humanity can get along better.
Much better.
If they can be understanding that we are wired differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a very, very important concept. So, I am energy isn't always about your wiring for yourself, but it can also be a more reclusive energy at times. It can manifest by somebody that likes to spend alone time a little more. We'll get into that a little bit more.
And depending on how much of the I am energy one has would definitely determine how much time, alone time, recharge time they like to have.
Definitely. Very well said. The next 4 signs are the second decan signs, and they are Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. And these signs are more wired for like the you are, or are you.
Or partnership.
They're more partnership-based signs. They care more about what's going on with the people at the dinner table with them. They're more wired that way. So some people like project a lot of like egotism on Leo, and they kind of like try to see them as an I am sign, but they're not. They're more of like wired to be thinking more of like, do you love me? Do you think I'm pretty? See how it's directed at the other person? Mm-hmm. It's like, do you?
Yeah, I mean, part of Leo is definitely the ego, so that's why they get that perception.
Ruled by the sun.
Yeah, so that's why they get that perception of perhaps one of the I am signs. But it's really that, like, ego is just a part of their personality, but they are very much concerned about what their partner thinks of them and how their partner likes them, etc.
Yeah, and I want to go through all the other signs that are second decan to kind of give you a better understanding. Virgo, it rolls over like purity and order, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like, they're a Virgo, why did they make a mess? And they're not always clean, and people like scratch their heads and they don't understand that.
Well, the Virgo would be concerned with other people's cleanliness. Like, yeah, are they clean? Why did they leave a mess?
Yeah, it's more about what the other person did, because their energy is directed outwards. Like, oh, that person left a mess. That person didn't do this right. This should have been said. It's more about organizing the people around them.
Yes.
And then Libras, like, once again, they're directed towards their partner. Oh, my partner this.
Is my partner happy?
Is my partner happy? That's a very good way to say it.
Do we have peace between us?
Yes. And then Scorpio is more of like, I wonder what they're thinking. It's like wondering about their secrets, looking at their body language. How can I get their secret out of them?
Or looking at their body.
Looking at their body. But they're very, very directed towards what's going on deep
within my partner,
yes,
or my friend, or close relationships, you know.
Yeah. And then next is the third decan signs. You ever like get around somebody and they blow it up like that is bad for the world. Like when somebody does something wrong, like they just made it big about everything. Like this ruins humanity. This makes the world a not good place because of how they acted. They're wired to like make it big picture. And I personally like the energy. I don't have tons of it. I have like one drop of it, but it's why I married somebody with that type of sign, Aquarius. Because I like getting pushed to think bigger, because I have so much of the I am energy that I was like, oh, like I'm trying to figure out a secret of the universe, and I'm just like into my own world. And then she pushes me to like think bigger and how to use it in a broader spectrum. Like it makes me better. So I like the getting to see things a different way. And that's why I've kind of chosen that partner.
Well, I'm definitely wired that way. To think what's good for the world, and what would make the world a better place, and how we could all behave to bring that to pass.
Yeah, and there's some of us that will be like, we'll come up with some like life hack, and then somebody's running with it, announcing it to the world on Facebook. It's third decan energy doing that. Now, once again, we're talking about the dangers and the pitfalls, and people having listened to only what we've said here may be like, well, okay, these signs are this, and then they try to stereotype them, and then they find some discrepancies. Why is that? Well, the grand secret is all Aries are not equal, all Taurans are not equal, etc., etc. There are first decan Aries, second decan Aries, third decan Aries, and so on and so forth. They're all different. Mm-hmm. So I don't consider there being 12 signs. I consider there being 36 signs.
Wow. Because you feel like the decans make such a big difference
in
one's personality.
Yes. So for example, and overlay what I'm saying on all the signs. First decan energy is once again an I am sign mixed with an I am decan energy. So a first decan Aries, somebody gets a lot of those placements. They may like themselves, or want attention directed to themselves, or want to just live in their own world.
Or maybe reclusive.
Even almost reclusive. They may get diagnosed with agoraphobia, or they don't want to be out in the public, and so on and so forth. And then you could have a second decan Aries. And what do we mean by that is first decan Aries or any sign is in the first 10 degrees of that sign. Second decan is in the next 10 degrees, between
10 to 20.
10 to 20 degrees. And then third decan is 20 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
So you take an I am sign like an Aries, and you put it into a second decan, you just made it somebody that likes companionship a lot more. Mm-hmm. Somebody that likes to be doing things with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've just mixed those energies together. And it doesn't mean that they don't ever like alone time, because Aries does like alone time too. Mm-hmm. And then so on, 20 to 30 degrees.
They're going to want to get out and socialize with large groups of people.
Yeah, so when it comes to like astrology and like we're making and mixing and making matches with each other, what if you get the same bubbly person? Where you get two people that they're bubbly, they kind of have a somewhat similar flow because they have the same astrology signs, zodiac signs, but then they have way different decans. You get one that's all first decan and one that's all third decan. You get somebody that's going to be completely social, big picture, wanting to be in a completely other place, and they're not going to want to be tied down to the home with the other one and just in their own world. And they're going to, or if you get one that's just full of second deck and where they want all this companion time, and the other person's like, leave me alone. I hung out with you for 10 minutes 10 minutes ago. How about we talk in 3 days? You know,
Oh, man.
like, tell me this. Like, what's more important in the relationship? That you're both bubbly and you both have fire, or you're both emotional and you both have water, or the fact that the one doesn't want to be around the other one?
Or doesn't want to do the same things together.
Yeah.
Like, one wants to be at home, the other wants to go out and socialize.
Which is an excellent point. And you kind of just segued us into the last one, the houses.
Go ahead.
When you start looking at houses, and you'll say, oh, you're Aries in the first house, or you're Aries in the second house, or Aries in the fifth house, so on and so forth. Houses aren't your flow, but they're your interests. So what if you have like a different demeanor as another person because you have a different element, but then you're loaded with similar houses that have similar interests where you'll have all the same hobbies, or at least corresponding hobbies that flow well together and help strengthen the other ones. I've seen couples in relationships where they have different zodiac signs that aren't really that compatible.
But their interests are the same.
Interests are the same. They like to have similar conversations. They can talk. Even if they have a different flow, they still both like talking about the same things.
Or doing the same things.
Yeah. And I think people avoid these problems even when they don't know astrology. And I certainly have a thirst for people that will adhere more to a gospel of common sense. Please don't ever let go of your common sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't let astrology damage them just because they have good common sense.
Right.
But in this, if you want to see those things without having to even use common sense, you can find those other aspects of compatibility by seeing matching houses that have similar elements. And once again, they're going to jump. They're all going to start with the first house or fire, then it goes to earth, and then air, then water, and then it repeats at fire. So that's how you find the 1 through 12, which ones are compatible. 1 goes to 5, and 5 connects to 9 also. So it's just a jump every 4. They'll have the same element. That's like the big hit home. Like all of these things are very important. Not just your flow, which is your zodiac sign, and your element, and which elements go good together, but also like your interests, where you like to be, like how you like to spend your time, how you are around people, whether you like being around people or being alone. It has a lot of other aspects to it. And if you're looking at only one thing and understanding only a part of it, it can cause division. And that's where we wanted to help you guys. This language, I like calling it a language. This language of astrology or the stars, it has a power in it. And it has a power to shape and form our lives, not just helping us get along with people and understanding them better, but also like taking the people that we like to spend time with and know how we would flow with them better. It can give you some premonitions to how things would go. So,
and people can naturally gravitate toward this too. Like before I ever understood astrology, I naturally made friends, and then when I started understanding astrology, I was like, oh, most of my friends are fire signs or air signs. Like that is just naturally what I gravitate towards. So it was fascinating to just see that even though I didn't understand astrology, that's what I naturally gravitated towards. And sometimes we'll do readings for couples and we'll see that they naturally gravitated towards themselves and they're a very good match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By all means, we would not dismiss your intuition, but this would be a way of showing that what you intuitively knew, what you emotionally felt,
what you gravitated toward naturally.
This is a way of measuring that and kind of showing it.
Yes.
Also, for everybody out there that have more of a religious background and have certain like higher morals, we would say, that would like save intimacy for after marriage. one thing to help all of you out is to understand that you can kind of see how you guys would have that flow. A lot of times people say try before you buy. There is like a flow that you can see, like in the bedroom, like in astrology. You can kind of see a bit of that. So,
and wouldn't that be kind of the Mars and Venus?
Yeah, so your Mars is kind of how you act a little bit, but people also are going to bring their Mercury into that, their expression. So that's not just their words, but their expression. But one of the most dominant ones on how people are in intimacy is their rising sign, their body, how their body reacts. And then you can kind of see their 8th house, which is their sexuality. You can see their 5th house, which is how that overlays will show how they are romantically. And 7th house shows kind of how they are with a partner. You can dive into those quite a bit deeper. So hope that's not uncomfortable for all of you, but like it's a reality and it's helpful if you're looking to avoid just jumping around like that. Either you can have some forewarning of how those flows would be by actually looking at the chart. And you could also,
or if you're already with somebody, it could help you understand how you both, flow naturally,
what your needs are.
Yep.
And sometimes people aren't the best in relationships at always communicating or being able to describe what they need. And sometimes looking at their charts like, oh, you want this and this and this, you need this. And you can like find their love language. And you can, like, if you understand astrology really well, you can oftentimes figure out what they want even if they haven't said it. And ask them, hey, do you like this? And they'll be like, yes.
How did you know?
Yeah, how do you know?
We've had some people tell us that we know them better than they knew themselves, or like you know me better than I know myself.
Yeah, for example, we'll have couples that have been together 20, 30 years. And we'll be just like, we'll start nudging the husband like, hey, just to break it to you, your wife wants this. And like the wife will be like, yes, like nodding. Absolutely nodding all the way. And then, but he doesn't give it very good. And it'll be like sometimes awkward, but sometimes it's worth saying the awkward thing that helps a friend out. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this will make your guys' relationship better if you can do these things for each other. And even people after 20, 30 years coming into contact with an astrologer that's very adept can help them have a better relationship. So that's our ultimate wish for all of you guys.
So you can have the ultimate relationships in your life.
The
best friendships, best marriage, all of that.
Yeah, this is to help. And we extend the invitation that, like, if you guys need to talk about this in the comments, we're here for you. We appreciate you. We're happy to help advise. And ultimately, we want the world to be a better place with people getting along better.